Yeah, I'm gonna be manning this camera. Everything will be good. And this camera You're gonna need. Oh wait, you're already live.
Yeah, you don't have to go live right now. Change any setting, they click automatically, no?
No, they're on the same channel.
Huh?
Take this mic over.
How are you?
That's a back-to-back, right? That's so nice.
I'm good now. How's the audio now? I got another big event next weekend, so it's like all planning in New Jersey. But we're gonna get 1,000 volunteers and we're gonna package 100,000 meals. We're gonna distribute it throughout the
I got message from Roger that he yesterday regarding traumatized
No, I think it's the same day.
It's the same day, so
Yeah, but I'm doing the Hunger Project, so I'm busy with that. But yeah, we're gonna have. I think we're gonna end up with about 1,100 volunteers. Wow. And we're gonna package 100,000 meals. Yeah. But it's our first time doing it in 3 years. And before we had a lot. We had like 1,800 volunteers and we did 150,000 meals.
make sure somebody record that if you can get content, we can make like a new.
Yeah, we have a videographer and then we're gonna have like our whole team.
Okay, make sure if you can get to that footage. First thing we can use in the future also for the project.
We have a send you like a YouTube video of our last one.
Okay, yeah.
So you have like an idea of like what the event is. But like I'm planning this week is gonna be crazy for me.
Yeah,
Because that's all I'm gonna be
in
doing.
civil documents, you've seen it, we used New Jersey neighborhood language.
Yeah. It's wild because we just have so many people. I got a whole nother week of more planning and doing
It's not a work with so many
and I got my full-time job as well. So it's gonna be interesting week.
good save, Eddie. Good save.
No, I love it. It's super entertaining. And it's just like everybody has such a great time. And then it's my son's birthday. So his birthday party is the day before. And then my nephew has the same birthday. So his party is on Saturday after the Hunger Project, which I'll probably be late to. So I gotta deliver all the meals to the food bank. And then afterwards, and then I gotta fly out to Savannah, Georgia for work. Immediately after, I pushed it back to Sunday morning instead of Saturday night.
Good for you, right?
Yeah, so yeah,
That weekend.
it's been back to back to back to back. So this last weekend I was home because my wife was in Chicago, and then before that I was in Chicago, and I was in Austin, and then I was in California. So it's like been like so every weekend.
Real crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the first year I haven't done any summer workshops, so we do a workshop every last 2 years.
Yeah.
We do a workshop, then we go into post-production, editing. So this is the first summer actually vacation. So
That's great.
the family complains and so let's go.
And then like sick lead over the summer keeps you so busy because constantly doing different calls and projects and things like that. A lot of time. But after the summer is done, I think like last event is Kieran's getting married after the wedding, and then I'll be like, good. Nothing. Just
It's an
relax.
amazing job actually. Pretty much, yeah. It's great. And I saw you guys are hiring for more folks.
Yeah. There's so much work to do. It's good to figure out a way to make it happen.
Yeah, it's all going through. Funding has to flow in from somewhere. That's all.
Yeah.
There's always bigger money. Fundraising is always happening on the side.
Yep.
Dad,
Birthdays.
let's just show everything till it's live.
Okay.
Because I don't want people just watching this for Instagram. Show. Mom wants to show the South F and Austin.
Okay, why don't you control? I will let you.
Yeah, just scared. Me and just scared they're
I will
gonna.
let you know where to go. Okay.
Stop touching me. Give me another. No. Seriously. Actually, can you look? Oh, just get it. It's right behind you.
Randomly great.
I just, you don't have to move that microphone thing. We just took it off.
What's that?
You know the microphone thing I was telling you about? You don't have to do it anymore. We just took it off. Yeah, we took it off. All right, good luck. Don't mess up. For me.
I'm down.
You're scared?
I talk too fast sometimes.
Just talk slow. Just like that? Just wait till my
I think I have basically met everyone in here, but for those that don't know me, my name is Gideon Gill. I am the Executive Director of SolveF. And I want to thank all of you for coming today to this dinner, because I know we are all very tired. There has been a lot of work done this weekend. I know a lot of you, or many of you, were volunteering and helping to arrange the program. And so I want to thank you for that, and I think all the planning committee wants to thank you for that. It was an amazing weekend and an amazing opportunity to see how communities come together. I was doing the SICKI 101 training, or sat in on that with Amin today, and I can't tell you how many people said they learned new things and appreciated the opportunity to be welcomed into a space that they otherwise were unfamiliar with. So I want to thank all of you for creating that for them. I also want to say on behalf of SolveF, it has been a privilege to work with this community. I know through the last 8 months when we've been on calls, and there's just been a tremendous amount of hard work and heart here. And the 3 people that we worked with, I know 2 aren't here yet. I hope they will come, but I definitely do want to recognize Navi Gill. Per the interviews, we're not related. Navi is somebody that took on a tremendous amount of responsibility. His phone was going off nonstop for the last 3 days. I don't know how you did it, Navi, honestly. But it's a privilege to work with you and to see the amount of heart and how deeply you care about this community, and it really shows. So thank you for that privilege to be able to work with you over the last 8 months. So for those of you that are maybe less familiar with SolveF, we run a national sick leave program. It is a summer internship program, so we were simultaneously running the sick leave program as well as supporting the commemoration. We do have about 80 sick leaders across the country. The regional program is age 15 and above, and DC is college age. So they have internships, and one of the purposes of internships is to learn different skill sets, develop professionally, and also engage in the government and advocacy space. So I was in DC, I live in Maryland, and I was supporting the DC program. We have several folks that are interning at the White House, on Capitol Hill, and in advocacy organizations in our nation's capital. And we have several folks that are interning around the country. And so we wanted to just create a space. You know, a question that I've been getting a lot this summer as the commemoration is approaching us is, how can we, support this community? And for me, there was a lot of things that stuck out this weekend. I don't even think I have the, I would say, mental capacity to process it right now, probably partly because of exhaustion. But I think for me, one of the things that really resonated with me, was hearing from the families, hearing from the youth about how this experience changed them, and there's obviously still 10 years later going through that healing process. And Gamalkor said something that I thought was really important. She asked us to remember, not just today, not just this weekend because we're all here, but each and every day throughout the year. And I interpret that remember in 2 different ways. One is remember what happened and figure out a way each and every one of us can work towards change. And I think that's incredibly important. And as the executive director of a Sikh American advocacy organization, I really do take that to heart. And I think that that's something that our organization needs to ask ourselves every day. I need to ask ourselves every day to make sure that we are truly doing all that we can to ensure change happens, so things like this do not happen again to any other community. But the second part of that is, impacted communities. I was here this weekend. I also was in Indianapolis last year when the shooting impacted that community. And I think we need to recognize, or at least I understand what I understand to date in my understanding I think is continually growing and evolving is that healing takes time, and even 10 years later, that's still that process of healing. And it's incumbent on us as a community to provide support for one another. And not forget that people are still here and experiencing the impacts of what happened. And so, again, I think we should all ask ourselves, and I'm certainly thinking about it a lot, is how can we continue to engage well beyond this weekend and moving forward and provide that support in whatever that looks like. And I'm grateful to be joined here today by 3 panelists from the community. I also just want to, they're representing families of that have lost loved ones. I'm sorry, I'm just a little tired right now, so forgive me if I'm not as articulate as normal. They have experienced what happened in Oak Creek. They were quite young, I think different ages when it happened, but certainly part of the youth here in Oak Creek. So we wanted to have a dialogue with them and talk about what their experiences are, what it was like growing up in the wake of this tragedy, and what they're currently doing now. We're certainly appreciative of all of you being here on this panel today. There were other family members that unfortunately couldn't join us tonight, but we certainly are thinking of them as well and hope to have future conversations and really engage in this dialogue more broadly. So with that, I'm going to just turn it over to the panel and introduce. We have the first panelist. Hold on, let me just. So Harjas Singh, right? From Oak Creek, and I don't know if you want to share anything about yourself. Sorry, go ahead. Is it on?
Okay, my name is Harjason Singh. I've been going to Oak Creek High School. I'm a rising senior. I'm here to talk about the Oak Creek shooting that happened and a new initiative that started as a part of that, the Secular Association, which we'll get into more detail about. But yeah.
And the second panelist is Amorous Kalika.
I'm 16 years old, and my grandfather, Sabon Singh, was a victim of accident.
Hi everyone.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Hi everyone. For those that don't know me, my name is Manveer Singh Nagda. I'm 23 years old. I'm a college student at Marquette University, studying psychology and sociology. And as like Amber said, Sardar Sakwan Singh Kalika was my Fufuji, my uncle, that passed away during the September shooting.
So I guess for the first question, just to kind of set the stage, and you guys were all quite young when this happened. If you could just share what your experience was that day, what you remember. Maybe we'll go ahead and start with Amorous.
Yeah, so that day, I remember every Sunday we went, and I was 6 years old, so every Sunday we went, and I went to Punjabi class, and I just remember that day running late. We left the house, and then I forgot my notebook, I forgot my homework, and I was like, no, Dad, we need to go back, we need to go get the homework. So he turns back around, and we're even later than we were before, and probably we made the 10-minute difference between being in there and being not in there by us running late that day. I don't know what it was, I don't know, like whatever it is in the universe, but we didn't make it in there that day. And I remember we pulled up to caution tape, and I've said before, like I just watched my dad as he tried to like get in past the caution tape, past the trees. He wouldn't listen to anyone, and I really didn't know what was happening, and no one would tell me. No one's gonna tell a 6-year-old, but I just ended up staying the night at our family friend's house that lived in Oak Creek, and that day they were watching the news, and then I remember just them telling me later that day, and they were like, your grandfather's in the hospital, your grandfather had been shot. And I don't know when I figured it out from there, I don't know when I was told from there, but that's just what I remember from that day.
Thank you, Amorous. And Manveer, if you could share, but also, I mean, you were a little older at the time, what do you recall from that time till now? What changes have you seen in the community?
So with 10 years passing during that time, at that time I was 13, and now that 10 years are up, there have been tremendous changes. One being our Sikh community being a lot closer. Everybody kind of knowing each other on a first name basis. At that time we did have a pretty big Sikh community in Oak Creek, but it got a lot bigger. And people were not scared to move to Oak Creek or any of the suburbs around the Oak Creek area. And people just became a lot more approachable. The social environment was definitely there. And especially out of the youth, there was a lot of mentorship programs that happened right after the shooting. So that brought a lot of people together. There was a lot in schools as well. People saw a lot more comfortability when it came to introducing themselves. For example, instead of introducing myself as Manveer, how people in America would say my name, I would say my name as Manveer, and people would be like, well, he's part of the Sikh community. And that just kind of kept growing from there. And now that 10 years have passed, people know the Sikh community pretty well. And people are able to recognize a Sikh pretty easily based off their kara, based off their case. And that's been a pretty major growth that we've had in our community.
Thank you. Prentice, maybe if you could talk a little bit about your experience here growing up in the wake of the tragedy and at schools as well.
Yeah. So yeah, after the shooting, one thing that it brought was awareness. Growing up in New Berlin, before I moved to Oak Creek, I was in New Berlin where there was not many Sikhs around. I was one of the only ones, and there wasn't that much awareness. But moving back to Oak Creek, everyone, like Manveer mentioned, how everyone realized you're a Sikh from wearing your kara or wearing a turban. With that, it just brought awareness because many people realize your values, why you keep your hair, what the value of our turban is, while maybe in the other parts of the country or other parts of Wisconsin, it's not that well known why we wear a turban. They don't realize why. And that can lead to bullying, but at Oak Creek, it was after the shooting, it brought a lot of awareness, which brought a lot of many of for personally growing up in Oak Creek versus New Berlin, Oak Creek was just way more comfortable because I was able to, they were able to understand me and they were able to know what happened and who I am and why my identity was the way it was.
And I guess a follow-up question, so there was awareness raised. Was that something that was also sort of done by the community? Was that because of the media or the news about what happened and about Sikhs generally?
Yeah, so a lot of media was there, and of course a lot of our whole Oak Creek community came together, and many of the parents then told their children about what happened, some of them. But I know most of my friends or most of the high schoolers, they figured it out because through media, through social media, Instagram, through no one really uses Facebook in our generation, but Facebook too. No offense to Facebook, but a lot of social media played a big role because many of the people had Snapchats or Instagram, and you see people talking about this, and yeah, I think it was a lot of the media, but also just because it's in a place where this can happen, and a lot of our member community was affected.
Amorous, I just want to follow up with you. You spoke so beautifully yesterday about sort of your healing journey and sort of this recognition, like going through this process of the emotions that were evoked when you thought about Wade Michael Page, and how you kind of went through this process of, I guess, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but sort of understanding that his sort of human flaws, maybe if that's correct, and correct me if I'm wrong. But can you just maybe talk generally about what that process looked like, and maybe share for those that, obviously this is being live streamed, that were not able to be there in person yesterday, what your sort of personal journey looked like in regards to your remarks?
Yeah, so last night I spoke about just a little bit like as if I was talking to him, and there's been like a lot of words used to describe him, such as monster has been a big word, and that's why I included it in my statement. But I think it came from when I was younger. I remember asking Dad, and I was like, why did he do it? I didn't understand. I wanted an answer. So I was like, why did he do what he did? Why would he do something like this? And he didn't have an answer, but he told me, he was like, because he's hurt, he's sad, because he is not happy. And I just remembered that for so long. And I just remember each time I see something along those lines, each time I watch the news, I see that these are humans, and they were just not happy. And that's, I think that's just like a good way to put it into words, but yeah.
Well, thank you. And I guess this is for anyone that would like to answer this. I mean, there's obviously a whole healing journey 10 years later. Is there any, I guess, things or advice that you could give, or what did that healing journey look like for the community?
I would say the healing journey was kind of, sometimes people use the term trust the process. It was a lot like that, where it's been 10 years. People really had to come together in terms of healing. You probably noticed in our Indian or Punjabi community, we're a very collective society, opposed to a very individualistic society. Coming together as a community made the healing process a lot easier. Instead of individually kind of going through a heal, we all came together as a group and promoted Jardikala. So that just kind of made the whole coping, the healing process a lot more comfortable.
And I guess this is maybe for Harjas, but if you want to share, did you see the youth come together? Was there anything that you guys noticed in terms of youth that were there at the time? I know you have a recently formed organization, so maybe you could talk a little bit about that, and then share a little bit if you recall any other sort of youth organizing previously.
So when the shooting happened, I know I was actually in India when the shooting happened, but like coming, I know a lot of the youth came together, and Manui can maybe talk more about that. As he was there, I know there was a lot of initiatives taken, but recently after COVID, we realized many of the Sikh youth were either not showing up or they didn't understand, because Punjabi classes ended, and a lot of the other opportunities that were given by our Gurdwara, they were pretty much non-existent. So me and a couple of my friends, Sukhbir and Ritika and Harpreet, we started a Sikh Youth Association, and we had a lot of missions. Our mission was to connect Sikh youth around our Gurdwara first, in our Gurdwara. That was our first thing. We were able to do that, and with that we wanted to connect our community. So we connected with Brookfield. Now we're eventually expanding and trying to connect youth across Wisconsin, and eventually we do want to do that on a national level, but connecting on a collaborative line, because that can mean a lot of different things. we wanted to connect youth in a way that we were there for communication, while also connecting them back to the Sikh customs and Sikh traditions, with that being Punjabi class, teaching them Gurmukhi, telling them about history once a month, but we go into detail about how our history has impacted us. With that, we also are starting Gatka, Tabla, and harmonium classes. Pretty much just making sure that the future of our youth, or the future of Sikhism, is led by our leaders, and then making sure that that a collaborative space is created where young Sikhs can pretty much stand up together and make an impact rather than being separated. Making a big connecting with each other and making an impact was one of the reasons why we started it, and it has been great so far. So, yeah.
Just to piggyback on what Justin said, I just want to give a special shout out to answer your question about how the youth came together. At that time when I was 13, and a lot of my friends during that time, same age. At 13, our mental state was a little bit still raw, because we were still to go through our preteen years, teenage years, and young adult. So at 13, I remember, so this was August 5th, a couple weeks later, we were starting to do school shopping and all that kind of stuff. And me personally, I was pretty scared to even go to Target to do school shopping. Just because I won't, if I'm gonna go see another, if I see anybody else that's not Sikh or Punjabi, just get scared. So at that time, the shout out that I would like to give is our Rinku Bead, the Baji right here, Gaggi Bead, Navi Baji, Gurmukh, Misraj, Aman Sekho at that time. These were our elders who at that time really took us in and took us to rock climbing events, took us to basketball camps or basketball games, or really did a lot of that kind of stuff to make sure that we all have that, a positive mindset, going to school, but as well as keeping that young core in a good mental state that we can go attack now our preteen years, our teenage and our young adult years, and not have that fear of, and keep in mind that these events would be with non-Punjabi people as well, kind of bringing that comfortability back. So I wouldn't be where I am right now if it wasn't for Gaggi Bead, Pradeep Baji, Navi Baji, Gurmukh, Gurpreet Ali, all those people, and there's people that I forgot right now too, but that's where I wouldn't be. If I wasn't here right now, it's because these guys really helped me out during that time. So special shout out to them. And I guess, and I know like my sister here, Kita, and Jawan will say the same thing, because we were at that same age. We wouldn't be here, we wouldn't know much about Sikhi or about what kind of American, Indian, and Sikhs, how they're supposed to live lives here in America. So special shout out to them. Love you guys.
Thank you. And this is to all of you, and I think this will kind of be the final question. I'll see if anyone else has any questions for the panel. But, you talked, Manvir, about people that invested in you, and I certainly heard a familiar name. Navi still, I can tell you, very invested, certainly. I've worked with him over the last couple of months, and I know that several other people, Pradeep made it in, but I can tell you definitely have some incredible leaders here in your community, and that's wonderful to see, like, that they're, they invested, and all of you are paying that forward. There are obviously Sikh youth all over the country, and Harjas, you talked about connection and the importance of that. And a question that I get a lot, especially as the commemoration was coming up this year, was how can we help? How can we support? Are there any ways that, Sikh youth across the country can support, can connect? Is there anything that you think the community needs, or anything that you would like to see, whether it's from Sikh youth, Sikh organization, gurdwaras? If you could maybe share a little bit about that, and we'll just go down the line.
One thing I can say that we need is a platform. The youth needs a platform, the Sikh youth especially. There's of course many youth, nationwide events, but like having a platform like that like everyone knows that a Sikh youth pretty much can talk or elaborate on that. But pretty much having a platform that pretty much is well known across the nation is probably the best way for the Sikh youth to get their voice in. And I know Salif does an amazing job with making sure that people's voices are heard, and having something like that for the Sikh youth would be amazing. One thing I would say is maybe, I know we have, our chapter, our organization has got immense support from our community, our families. Pretty much everyone in Oak Creek has supported it really well. But I would say more support, more encouragement to go out and do initiatives like these to make sure that members can, especially if they see an issue, go out and try to solve that issue and not be afraid, make an impact, and make sure that they're encouraged to go make an impact and start initiatives like these. I think that's one of the things that we could do.
Just a quick follow-up question. Do you feel like as a youth, it sounds like you're getting a lot of support from elders in the community, so would that be a fair statement that you feel like your voices are heard here sort of in Rivalaro spaces, community spaces? Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
I think with Sikh youth, I think we need to just be a little bit more proud about ourselves. When you're in school, when your name is pronounced wrong, when people ask you what you are, you can tell them, you can go out of your way to make sure they know who you are, because that's the only way people are going to know who we are in general. And I agree, I think we just need more of a platform to spread who we are and stuff like that, and it should be taught. Sikhi is such a growing religion, it's one of the top religions, and I just think we need to be more aware of it, and I'd love to tell someone that I'm Sikh and then not have to follow it up with what is that. And that's just like my final goal.
So really you're speaking to an awareness of who we are and broadly working together to spread that awareness, right? Thank you.
I think being able to teach your kids about the Sikh religion, Gurmukhi, the language of Punjabi, in my opinion, is the greatest investment that any Punjabi household can make, because it's going to carry on their tradition for a long time. I have cousins that are out in, places like Surrey or Brampton, or I just met a brother right from Stockton or Fresno. There's probably, I think, the third generation of Punjabis going on over there. And they can talk, they can speak in Punjabi as good as the first generation. And I'm completely amazed by that, because I'm a first gen here. Parents grew up in India, and I was born and raised here. Being able to not only just spread that awareness of Punjabi and learning Punjabi from a youth perspective, but even kind of giving the counseling to parents to not be afraid of your kid being a little desi. It's okay to be a little desi sometimes, right? But making sure that parents also have that same goal, that long-term goal of learning. Like it could just even be like the grassroots of learning Gidda or learning Bhangra, right? These are just some of the extracurriculars that you can do to kind of be in touch with your roots, and things like that. They're going to carry a long way, and that's how we can lead. We can be like cities like Surrey, Fresno, and Brampton, where their third, fourth generation can speak, read, write, or even know the religion as much as the first gen. And I hope to see many cities like that in the future. So yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And we have an incredible legacy to be very proud of. Before we wrap, Harja, since you do have this newly formed organization, I just wanted to give you the opportunity maybe to share with everybody if they're interested in connecting with you or the organization. Can you just share if that's connecting with you personally, or do you have a social media presence, or is there any way that they can reach out?
So we actually just I think 6 hours ago launched our website.
Good timing. How you managed to launch launch your website today, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I gotta pull the all-nighter and finish it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's called SickYouthAssociation.com. We're working on, if you type in pretty much SickYouthAssociation.com, it'll pop up, the website will pop up, but we're trying to work on, so like when you search up just Sick Youth Association, that tries to pop on the front page. We actually we created a Facebook page just a week ago. Pretty much we're like a new organization, and we want social media impact, which is another thing that we're working on is having more followers from Instagram, from our community, and then hopefully throughout Wisconsin. So we start updating them on events that we're doing. We're thinking about having the Malla Camp, where we teach Patke, Bugs, and the Malays to young generation, because that's one thing our youth doesn't know is how to tie it. Personally, in our community, there's many youth who we want to learn how to tie a bug. We know how to tie a butka, but we don't know how to tie a bug. Who's going to teach us? The response is usually YouTube, but they would like an in-person event where this would happen. So that's something that we're working on. But yeah, SickYouthAssociation.com is probably the best way. We keep it updated, and we're planning on just any latest event having it through our social media. Sick Youth Association will be the username for that. But yeah, our website is probably the best bet. Thank you for that.
Awesome. That's a good timing on the website. So that basically wraps up. I don't know if you have any last thoughts. Amorous, you're holding the mic, so if you would like to say any last words. Okay. Don't want to put you on the spot. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
I just want to say how proud I am of you guys. I cried a lot today. For us, when that all happened, you guys were the future. You guys are the future. And we were thinking about us and you guys, and we did the mentorship thing because it was the right thing to do. It felt like the right thing to do. And being in charge of the Punjabi school when that all happened, I remember that day we were actually going to move up to Punjabi school time. So even if you were late, you may have still unfortunately been in that situation. And I'm so glad we didn't. But seeing you guys so grown up, man, 10 years later, I'm proud of you guys for what you're doing with the Youth Association, but also in your lives. You guys are incredible. You're a testament to really the summit. And I'm glad the committees listened to you guys. They did not listen to us. So I'm glad you guys have made a headway, because the reality is, Sikhi Gurdwaras, you name it, they're in our hands. You talk about teaching Sikhi. I think, especially in our community, right? We've struggled to do a good job. I struggled to learn about it. Because people just really didn't know. They did as they were told. That was a cultural tradition. And we have an opportunity to learn and grow and to teach each other and to teach the future generations. And, seeing you guys do it, I left for San Diego and I felt bad about leaving. But to see what you guys are doing just makes me, just so at peace that, the hard work that everyone's put in just continues to perpetuate forward. So proud of you guys, man. This is Jamaica. So, thank you.
You're here.
I haven't spoken a lot this weekend, so I decided, I want to echo what Kanwar is saying, is that we are so proud of all of you, of everyone, and all of the work that you have all done. Hearing Manveer say what he said about where they were, I think a lot of us came back into that Gurdwara that Thursday, right? When we were able to kind of reclaim the Gurdwara. We came back there and we started to see all of the faces. And what we were most distraught about was seeing the youth and seeing you all kind of going through it, of being worried about the next white person that comes in, being worried about going to the store, going this way. We were also worried. We were also scared. Part of the reason, and Amorous had a front row seat at this, I started to do counter-violent extremism work with people who are, right, openly white supremacists, openly hateful, was that I wanted to show that we weren't scared and we weren't fearful. Deep down inside, I was scared, and we were fearful, but we wanted to go back there and say, no, we're we have to go forward in the spirit. And so as much as people are like, why did you reach out to Arnold? Did you want an explanation? Did you want to whatever? No, I wanted our community to know that we weren't scared and that we were not going to be fearful and that we can go forward. So if all of that and everything that has happened over the past 10 years, dude, Amorous, you are a wonderful, beautiful young woman, and we are so proud of all of you, right? And just like she said, go forward and be proud of yourself. Be proud. You guys are going to do things that we couldn't do, as Gabi pointed out, as Colin pointed out.
I'm Gabi.
I'm Rinku. That's Gabi. That's not, we go back a ways. So, as was pointed out, don't take no for an answer, please. Okay? Don't let barriers get in your way. Whatever you see, dream big. All right? Let's even create, let's start with the turpentine. Let's do all of that. Let's think about a school. Let's think about having a K-5 educational program. Having some programming that we can intentionally, as you pointed out, start to teach the youth their culture, their language, all of that. When I came to the United States, it was 1982. I was 6 years old. You know what the atmosphere was like at that time? Tu Punjabi Pulla. Forget it. Pullo. Right? Forget it. Nobody speaks Punjabi. There was 5 families here that were Punjabi. 5. In Wisconsin. No, I didn't grow up with not one Punjabi person until I got to college at Marquette. And then I had one Punjabi person that was around. That was the atmosphere. That doesn't need to be that way anymore. You guys can remember your culture, your language, your heritage, and be proud of it. So I'm going to present the challenge now. Here's the challenge. 10 years. We all have been grinding, doing this work. My back hurts after every August 5th. I'm 46 years old. This is your responsibility now. This is on you. What do you want to do? August 5th, you obviously seen thousands of people come. I'll tell you, I've been able to travel all over the place, and August 5th means so much to so many people outside of Oak Creek in Wisconsin. We have changed policies, we have changed legislation, institutions. There's been so much work that has been done already. What will you do next? Okay? That's the challenge that I give you. So start to think about that now, next year. What does next year look like? What does that look like? And by the way, your website, you started it on August 5th. All right? You might have launched it today, but you started on August 5th, 2022, at the 10th anniversary. Got it? All right.
You're not on your own. What are your words for you?
Sharon, did you want to?
I just wanted to say, I've gotten to know a lot of you over the last few weeks here, and it's been such a pleasure working with each and every one of you. When he talks about challenging you, I really see y'all taking that step forward. I see how much you have put into the event this weekend alone, and how much you're continuing to do, and your passion that's coming out. You talked about wanting a platform where the youth can speak. You're already starting the steps. And I know that Trina today spoke to y'all about how you can mobilize, right? How y'all can work together and mobilize together. So work with people like Trina, work with us. And I've also spoken to y'all a lot about the different opportunities locally where you can start, raising your voices. Grab those opportunities when you see them. We have a camp right in your backyard. Get involved in it. Be the counselors at the camp. Bring your sangat along, right? Get involved, and there's going to be a lot more events around this area, a lot more around the Chicagoland area. We'd love to work with you. There's also youth from Chicago that have come. We would love to, ask you to work with them. And next time I see y'all, I don't want to see 2 separate tables. I want to see y'all together mixing, in groups, right? Because this is how we work together. We start building those relationships and start working with one another. And we coming together as an organization, working with a community like yours, working with Navi, working with Pradeep, working with Mandeep, working with all of you. We didn't know a lot about you, right? But we try to learn, we try to understand, and we are learning, we're still learning. So if we can continue to do that, and we want to do that, going forward, we would love that opportunity. So as much as you want to work with us, we want to work with you. Thank you.
So my name is Hardeep Singh. We're from Boston, and we represent Mishcom TV. So proud of you guys, and incredible. So I'm an immigrant, so I think we did a pretty bad job in the situation. I'll be pretty open about that. But you as a first generation, you're doing a great job for the simulation and being Sikh ambassadors. You're the torchbearers now. So fine to be Desi too. And sometimes we become very cautious of our outlook, like meri dada hai pag bani hui hai. How can we make that our strength? That's very important, because when we are wearing a pug, it's a crown, we are wearing it, and we should really flaunt about that. It's okay. So I think that's what we need to do. You guys need to do as a next generation, and what we can help you with. And we need to make sure our voice is strong. Voice is one. Same idea, very focused. If you have an organization, try to bring other organizations together too. Having a link between each organization, because that's where the strength is going to come. So I think very important, because we try to work in a silo, and we may have ideas, and sometimes we think my idea is the best. But when you start talking to different organizations, you will see your idea will become more mature, more focused. You can be a more potent voice. And another thing which I would like to ask every Sikh youth, keep your Gurdwara as a base camp. You may not visit it every day, every Sunday, but still, that's where you're going to take a next leadership from there. Sometimes we may have a different ideas how our Gurdwara should evolve, and that may discourage you sometimes. But you shouldn't take that as a discouragement. You should also try to put yourself in the immigrant shoes too, how they think, because they're your parents, they're your uncles and aunts. But learn from them and be a torchbearers, because you are the leaders of Gurdwaras of tomorrow too. That's your base camp. So keep connecting with that even if you're in college. Thank you.
So I'm just okay, sure.
I don't know if this is always working. Okay. For all my young brothers and sisters, one advice that I would give you, just like how Uncle D was saying right now, is be curious. I think that's going to take you a long way in kind of figuring out religion, language, faith, everything. I know there was a time in life where it was tough for me to sleep at night if I had like a big exam coming up. So I asked my mom, I was like, Mom, what do I do to make myself sleep better at night? And she was like, Beta, tusi kirtan sohele da paad soraya karo. So I was like, okay. So I one night on YouTube, put my AirPods in, and I was like, okay, let's listen to this. 5-minute part goes by, and I'm out like this, right? And it is one of the best spots that you can listen to before going to sleep. Sometimes people feel that they're not safe. What's the best spot that you can do to listen to that? The Jopai spot, right? It helps you feel more protected. So just all of your young brothers and sisters, be curious. Don't be afraid to ask the Granthi at the Gurdwara Sahib about some Sikhi questions. Don't be afraid to ask your mom and dad, your uncle and aunt, Kiran, Gaggipi, Uncle D, Pradeep Paji, Amrita, shout out everybody, anybody that's here, right? Ask your elders, and they're gonna guide you the best way, because there's no such thing as a dumb question.
Sometimes you go to Google Party.
Google is always great too.
I thought Google is God.
Nice. Yeah, it has all the answers. So on that note, we will conclude the panel, and we invite you all to have dinner with us. So thank you for being here again, and thank you again for all your hard work this weekend and for allowing SALDEF to be part of this.